Hello, everyone. Welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look at KuCoin once more. And as per usual, just peek over at Bitcoin, kind of see what's going on there. It's trending right between 56 and 58,000. There's a major resistance at 58,000. We might see a slight retracement from Bitcoin, but should expect no less than 56 at this point, just based on the fact that candlestick closed above and we're looking fairly well in the general sense of things. In fact, on the 4-hour chart, we can see we're back above the simple moving average, which should work as a nice little average to bring the price up eventually if it goes sideways here moving forward. All good things. So definitely great. I like to see that. There's really nothing negative about Bitcoin at this point. I don't foresee any major dumps in the future. I think we did hit our lowest point, and there should be an expectation of the price to increase in the near future. Again, we're not officially bullish until we break 60, 61,000. That's a major resistance channel. All right, just before we peek over at KuCoin here, if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just want to let you know that, but I do love teaching people how to become better traders. I've been trading for over 15 years, and my goal is to help you kind of do that, right? Teach you to fish instead of giving you a fish for one day, right? So that whole concept there definitely applies. I have a trading community, open enrollment as of December 1st. Be sure to check that out as well. If you're interested in becoming a better trader and more so having a leg up in the industry, because I do provide signals for every single trade that I take, and it's a really cool, awesome experience. So you know kind of how to structure trades in this kind of environment, because crypto is a lot different than traditional trading. All right, so let's move on to the one-day chart. Something to note here, we keep closing really close to, but above this support level, about 73.5 cents. So as long as we stay at 74 or higher, we're in good shape. I do confidently think that we're going to see the price continue to increase for Crow. Will it jump up immediately? Probably not. Crow's been pretty good about just slow, consistent growth. But also keep in mind, too, that indecision in the market recently does and did impact KuCoin, where a lot of these sell-offs here recently were concurrent with Bitcoin. So I wouldn't say it's fully aligned with Bitcoin right now, but it's moving almost exactly the same as Bitcoin is, right? So if you literally go down to the 1-minute chart, the increase for Bitcoin is an increase for KuCoin, and the inverse as well. It'll break free from that eventually soon, I'm fairly confident, just based on the fact that Bitcoin needs to consolidate and go sideways a little bit longer for us to have that confidence. That fear index there's a stronger correlation between fear and coins aligning themselves with Bitcoin than the other way around. So we just need to understand that and recognize that. And the sooner you know that, the better, because bottom line here, I feel confident that Bitcoin will increase and so will Crow, essentially, right? And then eventually it'll break free and do its own thing. So that's kind of where we're at there. So the one-day chart, all standard stuff here. We're under 70, but over 50 on the RSI. I like to see that. Granted, that does imply that we have a resistance at 70 on the RSI, which is probably concurrent right around 83 cents. So I'm willing to guess if we come up to test 83 cents again, it'll probably have a difficult time getting past that. That's just my speculation. But all in all, not bad shape here for the one-day chart. True, we have this bearish divergence here, but that really isn't anything to worry about too much. It's not like the price is going to nosedive because of that. The one-day chart is, again, a slower time frame, so it'll effectively give you, much slower averages, if you will. So that's nothing to worry about. The 4 hours is really where it comes into play. And let's take a look at that here, because we can see it's just kind of squeezing itself almost exactly in the same straight line. So not much to note here. It really just implies that we have a lot of consolidation, that contraction that is causing the price to kind of collapse on itself. But what's kind of cool here is you can kind of see this little pattern forming, right? And traditionally, when you see a pattern like this forming, it does break to the upside. And the reason why is because it came from the downside. In other words, the price action, usually when the price comes from below, it'll work itself into a wedge pattern and effectively continue upwards, right? That's a very standard, breakout type of pattern. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a breakout to the upside here in the near future. It may not be today, but it'll likely be sometime soon. Okay. Just bear in mind, we are below the 50-day moving average. That is working as a tentative resistance level, but that'll eventually average itself out right around 78 cents. And once we get past that, we'll be in good shape to go ahead and break to the upside. But the key here, though, is that we are not making lower lows, right? We're making higher lows at this point. And that is a very positive thing. Okay. Granted, we have lower highs, but that works itself into that wedge pattern that usually breaks to the upside. And with the strong support levels just below, right at 66 and 73, I think we're in pretty good shape. Looking at RSI, it's kind of just fair to Midland right now, kind of just trending right at 50, which implies that we have, again, strong support channel right at about 73 cents. Now let's go ahead and take a quick look at the volume profile and kind of see if that tells us anything further. Now, again, it depends on how far you stretch it out, right? But generally speaking, you can kind of see a pretty consistent price action right here. In other words, the most amount of volume is right where the price is at right now. So what it's doing is trying to figure out if it's a support or resistance level right now. For lack of better terms, 73, 74 cents is a support and resistance zone, but where the price closes is essentially the next step, right? So if we can get the one-day candlestick to close above 73 cents or 74 in that little channel, we're going to be in really good shape to go ahead and see the price continue upwards, and that'll allow us to break free from this wedge pattern and have that that ascending increase essentially, right? So that is ultimately what I'm speculating here. Again, the one-day candlestick is pretty important to understand. In other words, this new candlestick here that's pretty much just been dead even. It hasn't moved much at all. We can get that to close higher, somewhere in the 74 to 75 cent range. It'll give us that progression, that confidence to move forward and essentially break free again from Bitcoin. But the main reason why we haven't seen the price do anything but go sideways is because of Bitcoin, right? So we take a look at this guy here. You can see almost the exact same candlestick pattern, right? It's very much sideways action. If you compare that to KuCoin, it's the same thing, only just slightly exaggerated, right? We had this very significant increase from Bitcoin, where KuCoin just kind of slowly recovered. That happens in this type of environment. Again, you got to keep in mind, KuCoin was overextended for quite a while. It's actually doing very well for itself, considering how well it's, considering the history, right? The recent history. So for me, I really think that I can confidently say that KuCoin will continue to increase. It has all the right signs. For it to bottom out would be very unlikely, unless again Bitcoin decides to go to 50,000 or sub 52,000 essentially, because that's a major support level in the very near future. I don't personally foresee that happening based on that pattern movement yesterday when we had that strong sell-off at 53,500 and that sharp increase immediately after. That is a sweet point right there. Right around 54,000 was probably the lowest we can go, because we saw a strong amount of volume accumulation right there for Bitcoin. All right, so looking at the 1 hour chart, let's go ahead and just summarize here for you and call it a day. Let's see where we're at in the cloud. So we're still traveling within the cloud, but we're more so above than we are below. So in this sense here, again, when we got states of consolidation, the cloud doesn't really apply too much. So if we see the price break above the cloud in this example, it won't really matter too much, just based on the simple fact that we're too close to the cloud, if that makes any sense. In other words, we do have two positive factors here though, right? In other words, we do have the fact that the price is on the upper half of the cloud, but secondary, we also have this conversion line right here, higher than the baseline. That's a key takeaway there. You want to make sure that one is higher than the other. Always conversion line above the baseline in order to consider taking entry. Okay, so the price does break back above here and just say we get a close on the 1 day candlestick higher than 74, 75 cents. We're going to be in very, very good shape to consider taking a position to the upside. We already have a position open as a community, and what we're going to do is obviously keep a close eye on this, but I'm confident we're going to be able to hit that target still based on the way that CRO has behaved in the most recent past. It did very well considering Bitcoin sold off. It didn't even come close to 66 cents. It stayed right around, what, 60, 69, 70 cents? And that was essentially the lowest point. That tells me we have a lot of strength in CRO, and we're going to see the price continue to increase. It might be slow, but it will likely be continuous. That's my speculation. Other than that, let's see if the TD sequential tells us anything else. Not much to note there. And then, of course, the 4 hour got a bunch of resets. Yeah. So long story short here, we don't really have a lot besides what I've already shared with you to extract here, right? I would say more bullish than bearish on every single sense of the word. We are accumulating right at this major support and resistance channel at 73.5 cents. We just need to get the 1 day candlestick close a little bit higher and to break this ascending wedge pattern to effectively get upside, right? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is a pennant pattern, right? In fact, let's take a quick look at this here. And you can see, yeah, see, this is what I was pointing out. So it's a bullish continuation pennant where you got the price coming up, testing these levels, and then it's going to break to the upside soon. So I'm confident we're going to be able to see that. And bear in mind, it's not bearish because the price wasn't receding, right? The price was increasing and it should continue to the upside. I think the likelihood of that is fairly high. In other words, we usually see a break to the upside 70-80% of the time versus a break to the downside. And the only reason why I would see a downward break is if Bitcoin drops the bottom right now, right? That's exactly why we look at Bitcoin. We understand what that is doing first. Okay, so let's just make sure, pay close attention to Bitcoin, set some alerts at 58,000, maybe 56,000. If you got one of those two to trigger, it'll help you understand what's going to happen with this, right? Those are things that I like to look at and I like to understand, and it's important for you to know that too. So I hope you found benefit here today, of course. Obviously, consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Join my Patreon community December 1st when I have open enrollment. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me here. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.